Hi everyone, happy Friday and welcome back to Naylo's Thrift Talk. I'm Lola,
And I'm Nay.
and if you're new to our show, this is a weekly live YouTube show all about thrifting and reselling and the different ways that we use secondhand items in our everyday lives. And today we are talking all about lots, different items that we get in bulk and how we think creatively and out of the box in order to list them to resell. Nay, do you have anything to add?
No, that's basically it in a nutshell. I think, for lots, and we're going to talk about some tips and whatnot, but lots are, in summary, lots can be a great way to turn duds into scores.
Yeah, perfect summary.
Yeah. So
Before we dive into
that, it's Joe's birthday. Oh, happy birthday, Joe! In the chat.
Oh yeah. Oh, I missed it. There he is. Yeah, thanks for watching on your birthday.
Very cool. Thank you.
Enjoy.
And happy birthday. Hope you have a great day.
And Brian already had a great example of selling something in a lot. So he made $20 more on the bundle of 3 items than if he had sold them individually.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's so what we're going to be talking about is how sometimes you can really, cash in on something that wouldn't sell so well if you just, sold it individually. But if you put it together in a group with some other items, it changes the whole story. So
before we dive in, we have our usual segments.
Yes. So Lola, what are you wearing today?
Okay, so I was just making sure I have all of my linen listed because it's that time of year. It's starting to get warm again. It's beautiful and sunny outside. So this is just a basic Chico's
nice
linen shirt, 100% linen. I think I actually got it from the bins. So it was a really nice bins find. It's in beautiful shape. It has like mother of pearl buttons. So those
nice, very login look.
Yeah, those are definitely details I'll add. And so I'm just wearing it once before I find it a new home.
Very cool.
And how about you? I will switch.
So I am wearing today. I tried to accessorize in a way that it could have been sold in a lot. So,
oh my gosh, it's so clever.
So I have and these I did not purchase in a lot, but this is kind of things that you could lot up together, a gold accessories, jewelry lot. So this is a cuff bracelet that I got. I think I got it from the store. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking out. The store by you, Circle Thrift. Yes.
Yes.
We're in Philly where you used to live. So I got that.
I remember that. I totally remember that. That's so funny.
It was only like $1 or $2 and I love it. And I have these big chunky vintage 80s earrings that I believe I got at a flea market a few years back for next to nothing. I have a gold headband that I thrifted in one of those bags full of lots of hair accessories. So there's a lot. I did get that in a lot. And then this came from Thrift to You, which I talk about. This is a really cool gold. It's not real gold or anything, and it doesn't have a brand on it or markings, but it's, like a costume jewelry, but it's a neat necklace, that it's heavy.
I would imagine someone who wears like Lagan look kind of clothing wearing it also like very sculptural. It's interesting, very pretty.
It's very heavy. It's like hammered. It's got that hammered gold look. And then this top that I'm wearing, I do remember getting this from the bins. It's just a Gap top, and I thought it was going to be older, like early 2000s older, because it is a silk blend. It's not total silk, so it's washable, but it's got that kind of vintagey vibe to it. But when I looked at the tag, I was surprised to see that it is from 2014. So but it's just a comfy
nice
top.
basic.
Yeah, it's very basic, but it's something good that you can put with, that you can really accessorize something basic like this. And so today the highlight is my jewelry, which again could have been is an example of something that could be lotted up. So, Heather's so sweet. Thank you, Heather. That's very nice. Is that Or nothing here is cottagecore so far, Jason.
No, I think were you talking about my shirt?
Yeah, her shirt.
I would not. This is a little bit too minimalist for cottagecore. For cottagecore, if it were like floral, like some linen things, but not something
more like Lagan look, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So, and our next segment is our thrifted home decor items of the week. So, Lola, do you want to take that first too?
Yeah. So I thought I'd share something I bought in a lot. Switch this back. So this is a little bit of a stretch for home decor, but since we're talking about lots, I wanted to share it. I got a big lot of Women's Day magazines from 1949, so it's like the whole year. So the seller, you could obviously sell these individually.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually bought the lot because I was looking for one specific issue, but I was happy to, to find the whole lot at a reasonable price, and I knew I'd enjoy looking through them. And I was thinking I might use them as, sort of like set them out on a table or something as decor. But unfortunately, they smell quite musty, which I do not blame the seller for it all because they're quite old.
They're old. They probably were stored in somebody's basement for many years. Yeah,
And if I weren't allergic, I wouldn't care. But unfortunately, I can already feel my face is feeling like it's getting puffy.
Something good to resell. So
I'll probably have to resell these, and I might actually look up lotting it out and selling each issue individually. So, be kind of an interesting experiment to see if one is better than the other for these specifically. But I was happy with the price. I hope the seller was also. I think I paid, like $25 for the lot and then shipping. So.
Okay, very cool.
And I think she sent it media mail.
So Jenny says that she loves those old magazines. If they have any Corningware ads, they will sell for the ad alone. That is a great tip. It's also true with the Absolute ads. And back in the 90s, I collected the Absolute ads. I had them framed and pinned up all over my wall. I got rid of them all. I could kick myself because I bet the whole group of them could have sold. I also when I was doing my research, I was looking at the old, do you remember Sassy magazine? That was probably a little bit before your time, Lola. It's more in my teen years. I'm 10 years older. So, but I was looking, and those now are selling for like $50 a piece. And I knew that I had my old Sassy magazines, but I asked my mom. She's like, "Oh, I think I got rid of all your old magazines years ago, so they're probably long gone." But yeah, you got to look. Some of those individually can sell. Like I was looking at the Sassy magazines. Now, if those went in a lot, that wouldn't be a good thing. But for $50 a piece, for one magazine, yeah, crazy. Was I a big vodka drinker? I was not, Heather. I just like the art in the Absolute ads. Vodka has always historically just knocked me on my butt. I'm not a vodka drinker. Gives me headaches, doesn't do good things. But I love the ads, especially like the Keith Haring ads. There were so many great artists.
Artist collabs, yeah.
And they were they were so awesome. So
yeah, so now you guys are inspiring me to look through the ads in the magazines. Unfortunately, because I'm allergic, I don't know how much I can look through the magazines to part out the ads, but I am very curious just to look up some comps.
Yeah, so one ad was $20. So that's a good tip from Jenny, that sometimes if you look through the ads, you might be underselling. If you do lot them up, you're not, you might be able to pull some of the ads and sell them individually. I think that's the one that you had that I was.
Yeah. That's a great advantage of having all of the masks. When I've been going through and listing a bunch of sewing patterns, I just put on a face mask now, and that's how I'm able to do it.
Yeah. So our next segment that we're gonna do is our new segment, which is Holy Poop Emoji. Oh, okay. Holy Poop Emoji. This sold. So when I was doing some research, I was quite shocked that at some of the things and I already knew about this one, but it's one that some of you might not know about, that empty toilet paper rolls can sell for quite a bit. So there's 120 empty. I mean, it's $15, only $15, but still empty toilet paper rolls. You need them. You're going to use them. So you might as well save them. So, and crafters use these a lot. So that's one of the examples of lots that it might be a little surprising. You know, some of them, it might seem like trash, but this can really sell. So if you are, you know, save them up for, you know, for 6 months, you'll have at least 120 rolls to, and you can then put them in a lot and cash in on your, and you know what? That gives you back some of the money that you paid for the toilet paper. So
yeah, I feel like Pinterest is full of ideas for different ways you can reuse them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen people use them to plant seeds or for fire starters, for camping, stuff like that. So I'm sure there's people who are like, I want to do this. I don't want to have to worry about saving them, or I forgot to save them and now I need them for a kid's craft project.
Well, Heather, I don't think we don't want a divorce. We don't want to recommend anything that would cause a divorce. No. However, I can understand your husband does have a point, because us resellers can sometimes collect things that can be a little overwhelming. But it is an idea, you know, just to put them in a box and. Oh yeah, I remember Brian. I remember that I used to do the same thing. I had hamsters. That's right. And my son actually just did a project not too long ago in art where he put googly eyes and yarn for the hair and made little characters, like little hand puppet characters out of toilet paper rolls. So they're great for, you know, for crafting stuff too. And this one was a little surprising too. I found this that was a little bit surprising, that these were empty bunkers rolls that sold for $216.39 wrappers.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this was a limited edition.
Yeah, from 1989. So you never know, if you have some kind of candy, save the wrapper, and you never know, you know, in years from now, it might be worth something if there's some kind of limited edition or something. So this was a little surprising when I was looking at the lots. I also saw some Dum Dums lollipop vintage wrappers. Wow. A lot of them went for quite a bit. So unexpected things, you know, that we.
And this one, super surprising, because if you had just told it to me and like didn't show me the photo, I would have guessed that the like Ninja Turtles were on the wrapper, kind of like featured large somewhere, and they're not. They're barely.
No, it's surprising because there was a sticker inside, but the sticker is not actually. I don't think. No, the sticker is actually not, just two pit photos, one at the back, one at the front. The sticker's not even included. That's but those wild. Two empty wrappers went for $216.39. So you never know. So really surprising. So yeah, I was doing my lots research, and that was what I came up with. That so next week we are going to be honoring the fashion legacy of Jessica McClintock. I I put the wrong art there. It should have the date, but that's going to be next Friday, which is the 16th, I think, or something like that.
The 8th?
I don't know. 15th?
No, it's the 9th. Oh my God, time means nothing anymore.
Yeah, I was right. Okay, so the 16th, sorry, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. That will be next Friday, same time. We'll be talking about Jessica McClintock, and she did recently pass away, and it's but actually we're just going to be doing about Jessica, all about. I changed the art a little bit, but anyway,
yeah, but
thing between Lola and I fixed it, Lola.
It's not a big deal.
I just put the wrong art up there, but anyway.
We always seem to talk about some of her dresses, especially like the Gunny Sacks dresses, and they've come up a bunch of times on episodes in the past. So it seems like it was a great opportunity to do a full show and dive in a little bit more into her beautiful designs. So
definitely. So so that's next week. And then of course I am a graphic designer. I have been slowing down on my work lately just because of everything going on since my dad died, but I am taking work again. And if anyone needs anything for your eBay store, your Etsy store, anything graphic design related, I have these packages, but I do other things too. So, you know, let me know if you need anything. And with that, I think we'll dive right into our main topic. TMNT is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yes. Oh, Jason sold a Jessica McClintock wedding dress not too long. Wow. Well, we'll have to hear about that. So, Jason, if you can this week, I'll have to hit you up for for the link, and we can add that to our show next week and talk about it. That would be great. So, I have to switch my other screen. Okay. So we're going to be talking. I have basically categorized, like we have 10. So it's basically 10, not 10 items, but 10 categories of items that you can sell. And we're giving a general idea of what these items are. So it's not necessarily going to be, like, this item, that item. It's going to be 10 categories. So our first category is going to be just miscellaneous items. So these are items that you may already have around the house. Also items that are kind of, some are a little surprising, like the empty RX bottles. But these are just some of the ideas of things that we found that are selling pretty well. So yeah. Well, can you put the banners up as I'm going through these?
Which banners?
I did banners for each one under the banners.
On yes.
Sorry. Okay.
So I just wanted to say also that Nay made great like infographics of each of these categories and some of the ideas that we had brainstormed. So if you are watching this after the fact, you might want to like pause and screenshot it on your computer. Or if you're watching it live, you can come back later and screenshot if you don't get the chance. But we'll try and keep them up long enough on the screen.
Yeah.
Because I think these are all just like, good to refer back to in case you're, you're stuck and you're trying to think, if you're especially a new seller and you're trying to find things around your house, like some of these, like Nay said, they might be things you already own. So,
yeah. So, okay. So the first, so these are some of the items. So we have miscellaneous items, which sea glass. So, and I'll give some examples of these, of some of these, not all of them, but some of them. So sea glass is one. Some of you might even already collect it. You might be able to find it at a thrift store. Who knows? Wooden clothes hangers, vintage ones especially. Mm-hmm. I've sold a lot of them. I have found them in the bins before. So some of them have like clothing stores names on them. A lot of them do, but they can do pretty well. Seashells. Jason's mom, Peggy, knows a lot about seashells. So if you have a lot of them, you need to identify them. I'm sure she would help you with those too. Empty RX bottles. Believe it or not, crafters use them. So take off you can soak off the labels and all the, you don't want any personal information on them, obviously, but wine corks, crafters use those. So similar TV character, genre, and brand lots. So like an 80s lot or a Golden Girls lot, because I love Golden Girls, or Star Wars lots, things like that, or something of the same brand, So
we have some great examples in the chat already. Jess says she sold wooden clothes hangers to someone at Ralph Lauren. Oh. That is such a cool sale. I love the old like vintage hotel branded hangers, and I know those can go for quite a bit because I have tried to buy them, on the cheap, and they always get fit up. But you can find them sometimes like at estate sales. That's always something I try to keep an eye out for. And
you know what I just realized? I don't think I showed my home decor item, did I?
You did not.
Oh well, I'll show it after. Done. Because I have it sitting in front of me. I'm like, wait a minute, I forgot to show that. Plastic kids hangers, Craig said. Oh. Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So you never know. So wine corks, similar. Okay, so junk drawer lots. And Jason did a webinar all about junk drawers, about making money from your junk drawer in the Secret Beach. So if you're a Secret Beach member, you might want to watch that. But you can also do junk drawer lots. And it's really, junk drawer is just kind of a loose term. It doesn't mean actually taking your junk drawer and dumping it, but miscellaneous kind of items. And I'll show you an example of that you don't necessarily go together, but people buy them as a lot.
It's also a fun search term to keep an eye on eBay if you're ever just wanting to browse something completely random. Sometimes I have found interesting lots under junk drawer that I buy and then part out and sell myself. And so if you have something that you just do not want to research, but might be a good lot for another reseller, you can also, list it knowing that someone else might put that energy in just where you don't want to, or you don't have the time to.
And we talked about, office and desk supplies, especially vintage ones. And I'll show an example of that. Empty toilet paper or paper towel rolls, which I showed. And records, CDs, and cassettes, which I kind of just lumped in there because they are items that you might buy in lots. You might buy from the thrift store, but you also probably have some laying around your house too. So, so I'll show some examples of some of these. So here's a lot of sea glass that sold for $79.88. And they did auction this. So some of these lots, if it's something kind of obscure and you can't really necessarily put a price on it, most of it you would want to buy it now. But some of it, you'd be surprised it might do well in auction. But if you do an auction, I would suggest starting at the lowest price you want to take for it.
I was definitely noticing a lot of auctions when I was looking up comps for the stuff I have that I plan, to list in lots. So it does seem like, a good opportunity to try an auction if it's not your normal format.
Sorry, I have to silence my phone. Okay. Yeah. And I think it was the car warranty people again. They've been calling me incessantly about my car warranty expiring. The funny thing is I'm currently driving my dad's car. So my dad passed away. I'm driving his car right now, and I don't have my own car. So I know that
I get those too, and I don't even have a driver's license. So
so aggravating. Okay. So this is an example of a seashell lot. This one sold for $64. Apparently some of these shells are rare. Their title is not going to win any awards, but apparently some of these are rare shells and they look like they're in good condition, but that lot surprisingly went for $64. Here is a, it's going to take a minute to load. All right, go to the next one. All right, so here's a wine corks, 200 wine corks. So if you drink a lot of wine, some of you might be wine drinkers, or you might even be able to find them at the thrift store. Every once in a while you can find them, in secondhand, or maybe you can ask your friends and family to donate them to you. $22.49 just for a box of wine corks. So here is an example of a Funko Pop lot, the Golden Girls action figures. Now I have this lot, I have these, but together that's an example of like a TV show or something, items that you can group. Here's a junk drawer lot. This sold for $39, and it is literally just, miscellaneous items. So there's, just stuff. It's just stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just
I always love that the junk drawers seem to be a good combo of like ephemera and then some like random items and then one or two bulkier things. But this is like for people like me who enjoy browsing junk drawers, like this is exactly kind of the mix that you're looking for, I think, for a junk drawer lot.
Yeah, and that can be fun for not only for resellers, but for people that like to look through those things. And sometimes there might be one item in the lot that's, going to grab the attention of people more than others. But if you are doing this, I would definitely research because you don't want to, give away something that could be better to sell on its own. Here's an example of vintage desk supplies. So they're all new old stock and for $50. Now I know that, I know my mom has a lot of vintage desk supplies. And I'm going to be helping her clean out a little bit this summer. So I might be able to help her make some money, by selling some of these kind of things. So
this seems like the thing like a prop department might be interested in.
Exactly. Very true. Here is an example. Okay, so this was Jason's lot. I didn't know whether to put this under ephemera or so I just kind of stuck it in the miscellaneous. But he sold 84 Viewmaster sets for $275. He said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason. He said that he bought these in a box left over from an estate sale. They were $400 for the box. And he's already made like $1,500, I think, from it. So, or I'm not sure if he's made that or if it's worth that. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. But so that's, that's a great lot to. Oh, you're working on a large lot of them right now. That's funny. So, Jason, were these so why did you lot this group together versus and what groups are you lotting together? And was the whole thing 1,500 worth for 1,500? Okay, sold have been 1,500 from that box of 400. Wow. So that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's a great example of the strategy for like buying a lot of something at an estate sale or from a local seller like on Facebook Marketplace, and then parting out what makes the most sense in terms of value and then lotting up the rest.
Okay, so he lotted these were travel. Yeah, so that makes sense. So
Jenny mentioned doing a similar thing too with selling the valuable ones and that's from the bins. That's a nice bins find.
That is because, and a lot of them in the bins too would easily get broken. So I'm surprised that they must have been in a box or something. So so Jason gave me some tips about selling lotting. Of course, he's the person to ask for if you are selling lots of records, CDs, or cassettes. So his tips were, and this is one of his actual sales. You can see there, Tiki Pug Music on eBay. And so he said that with records and lot, so what you want to do is lot the lower end or lower price ones together, and also the same artist or genre. So like a lot of Beatles CDs or Hawaiian records. And so the same artist genre you want to go with, lot the duds together when you buy a lot at an estate sale or whatever to resell. So there's always, if you buy a big lot, there's always going to be some that are good ones that sell individually and others that not so much. But if you lot the ones that are going to only sell for maybe $3 a piece or something, if you lot them together with some of the same genre or the same artists or whatever, you can definitely make some money that way on them. So, and then lots of soundtracks, he said, is good. Lots by the same artist. And also he said, put one halfway decent one in the lot and place it in the front and center. So that's going to be kind of the focus and the focal point, the thing that'll draw the people in to buy it. So
yeah, I think that's a good strategy for lots in general.
So he sold this for.
Why does it say does not ship to the United States?
You know what? I'm not quite sure. I think he might have, I don't know, maybe he gave me the link from the UK
site.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But so yeah. And he also sold this lot, which is just 2 Guns N' Roses. See, whoa, these sold for $331.99. Jeez. So I'm wondering, Jason, if you had sold these individually, how much would they have gone for individually? Oh, he listed them directly on the UK site. Okay, interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, I'm intrigued now. So I want to know more about these Guns N' Roses, Jason. How much would they have gone individually, and why did you lot these two together? Because they were the gold, I guess, and it made sense.
Seems like interesting. So this is sort of like Brian's lot that came up earlier. They'd have gone for less separately. So they're. Do you want to, Jason? Do you want to?
Yeah, sure. If you could talk about these, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll send Jason the link.
Okay, cool. Good, because I have his other. Lot somewhere too. You can talk about that. Cool. He's gonna pop in. Okay. This is also the pill bottle lot that I saw. So they had 195 at the amber prescription bottles, and they sold them for $95, which is insane. And my mom, and you know what? My dad, who just passed away, we have a ton of prescription bottles. My mom's going to think I'm crazy, but before we empty them, I should save the pill bottles. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so you want to tell us more about this?
All right, so I did talk about these last night on Thrifty Business, but it's a point I want to keep making over and over and over to everybody, because you have to think outside the box and you have to think differently, which is think outside the box and everybody else. So these two albums were released on the same day by Guns N' Roses. It should have been a double album, but Axl's a weird bird, so he made two separate albums to come out on the same day. And on both albums, there's a couple tracks that just stink. So it would have been a much better either fat album or just a double album.
Right.
So I saw these for $100 each at a record store in Phoenix, and I looked them up, and I'm like, all right, by themselves, they sell for about 100, 115. And I thought, self, no one listed them together. And I bet if I list them together, I can make anywhere profit-wise from 50 to 75 bucks. That's what I was shooting for. And so I spent the $200 on them, but then they sold for $332. So after fees and stuff, I cleared about $94 profit.
That's crazy.
And quick, they were listed for.
So are these common too? Like, can you find the separate ones commonly?
Not in the gold versions.
Okay.
And so I was actually kind of shocked to find them. And the store was doing what they should do. They're like, these are $100 CDs. And they were right. But to sell them together, and I think they were listed for 10 days total, maybe. So it wasn't long for me to turn my money into about a $94 profit.
And I think the buyer is probably paying a convenience or price there, because they don't have to go searching out for each one. They knew they wanted these, and now they don't have to go searching the internet for both individually. And now they just have a one-stop deal, and they're paying a premium for that. But I guess, they don't mind because they're getting what they want. So
yeah, just like also I showed last night on Thrifty Business that I sold a box set for $190 on Amazon. That same box set was in my eBay store on sale for $160. So that person didn't shop around there, and they could have saved $30. And so I'm like, sweet, thanks for not shopping around. You put 30 more bucks in my pocket. So
why did you list the other lot directly on the UK site?
So I use a service called Web Interpret, and they they take my listings and replicate them on I think they just added some, I think 9 foreign sites. So when you look at it on the site it's sold on, UK for instance, it says doesn't ship to the US because that isn't the actual US listing. And the way the service works, as soon as it sells, it cancels the other 9 listings. So my unsolds look ridiculous. Because I have 1,000 actual listings that turn into 9,000 actual listings, and every time one thing sells, there's 8 unsolds. So the unsolds look. So people go, you're not good at this. I'm like, well, those numbers aren't really true. They're actually kind of fake.
Would you pay 50 cents for every international site that you list on?
Because that's the cool thing about this service. Of course, I pay a final value fee to eBay and to them. But the 9 sites I'm on, there's no added fee to list on those sites.
All right, we're going to have to talk about that, because I just listed something I've started listing on some of the other sites, and now I'm noticing I'm getting charged 50 cents, and it's adding up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, and same with this one. So the Valley Girl soundtrack is fairly common, but the More didn't sell as well. And I had both of them sitting there, and I was like, I think these are better together. And I actually squeezed out a few more dollars putting them together. This one was kind of a mistake. When I bought it, I'm like, I thought the Valley Girl soundtrack sold for more. And I think I paid maybe 10 each. And the Valley Girl soundtrack's only selling for like 12 or 13 or 14. I'm like, whoops. And I thought, all right, again, same thought process. Maybe someone just wants to get it all in one shot, and they gave me $40. So I ended up about doubling my money. So I'm like, all right, that works. So you got to always think about that. And if you have things that make sense to go together, put them together. I think it was my mom, or was I doing a store review? Someone had a lot of things like Barbara Streisand and Chris Christopherson, and then like LL Cool J. I'm like, yeah, those don't really go together.
Yeah, the same buyer, unless they're a reseller too. They're not going to be buying.
Babs and LL Cool J are not a combination. Now, I like both. Well, Babs, all right, but yeah, you typically want to put things that go together. Those Guns N' Roses went together. This Valley Girl and More Valley Girl definitely go together.
Makes sense. I also love the way you did the photo.
Yep.
So it's like the head and feet. It's very eye-catching and funny.
Now, this one was kind of an accident. This is a box set, but it actually came in an actual box. And when I got these in a collection, I didn't realize that they were in there. And then I'm like, ah, crap, it doesn't have the box. And the box is kind of the selling point to box sets. And I'm like, but I bet someone would just buy them for cheaper than the whole box set, because the box set sells for about 50. And I got 30 for them. So I was actually quite excited about that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a cool tactic there to, yeah. So,
and I didn't call it the box set because of then people would assume, even though it isn't pictured, they're getting the damn box. So I just did a lot of 5 Janis Joplin, Big Brother and the Holding Company CDs.
Cool. Do you want to talk about these two? This is I guess I can kind of stick these in here because there's something that, that, you know, it's more of a home decor thing, but it's something that, again, it's all Star Wars. So it's something that's common. So, you know,
yeah. And I didn't think anyone gave a crap about any collectible plates. And so let me tell you, I didn't mention this last night. Let me tell you how long these have been bouncing around my office. 5 years now.
Wow.
And my buddy gave me all his Star Wars toys from when he was a kid, back when the original Star Wars movies came out. And those, I did a lot of action figures. We made a ton of money. And man, these plates have just been shuffling around. I'm like, no one cares about collectible plates. They're not really collectible. And then finally, I moved the tub for maybe the 47th time. And I'm like, screw it. Let's list these plates. And they sold like that. I'm like, crap. So basically, I just, and there's a couple other lots I sold. So basically, I shuffled around like $350 for these 5 years. I'm like, shoot.
I could see something like this also being kind of ironic now, where a Star Wars collector would buy them and like hang them up in their, you know, their den with their TV or something as sort of a joke. Like, you know, no one actually collects these anymore.
And I never thought that way, Lola. I just thought no one wants collector plates because they're not really collectibles.
I hate collectors.
I mean, but these are kind of awesome. Like, this is not your expected collector plate. They're not.
But I'm gonna have to revisit my thought process. Like, I would never stop at any of them at a estate sales. I'm like, all right. I will tell you, I was at an estate sale once. Now, Lola, you've never been in my house, but I'm sure you have a picture.
I've seen photos.
Yeah, of the tiki-ness and everything. I was at an estate sale many, many years ago that the entire house was like my house, but collector plates. And they were all on the little framey things to hang on the wall. So imagine every inch of the house you live in, collector plates, the whole walls. They had thousands.
Wow, that sounds like a nightmare. But
and I bought a few from the movie South Pacific because our guest bedroom is South Pacific. Yeah. So that's the only reason I wanted those. And they're like, if you want the original box, they're in the garage. And I'm like, well, why not?
Oh,
so imagine getting 2,000 collectible plates and then just chucking all the boxes in the garage. There was no rhyme nor reason. And so all these people were like digging through mounds of boxes. And I went, not that important. And I left.
I can't believe they kept the boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I guess, you know, hey, if they made Hummels. No Hummels. Okay.
Were we talking about Hummers? What? I
took
a left turn I didn't see coming. Oh, funny joke. Didn't mean to.
Yes. I mean, if there were Golden Girls collectors plates, I'd be right on that.
Well, yeah. And I get that. And that's, you know, because I put up the South Pacific ones in the South Pacific, guest room. So, yeah, I get it.
So your photos are also good. An extra bonus tip there, too. I like how you did the backs. And then they have the certificate of authenticity and you did each one with the certificate, which is. And
I can take no credit. That is the teenager that works for me, Zoe. She's done a great job because you kept mentioning how nice the photos are. I'm like, yeah, that's not me. That is.
She is good at this.
And my adult assistant is sick with allergies this week. And so Zoe's been shipping and she shipped on 4 platforms for me today. So I tell you, the only way to take your business to the next level is to get some help. If you want to get bigger, if you're where you're at, that's cool. But if you're like, I want to be bigger, there's only so many hours in the day. So you got to get someone.
I have to train my 3 kids.
Yes, you have free labor.
I know. So Jason, we're gonna go into our next category, but we're gonna get to tiki mugs. Can you pop back in? Do you have time to pop back in when we get to the tiki mugs?
Yeah, just put me backstage and then I won't be picking my nose or anything. Just pull me back up when you get there.
Hope not. Okay.
Again in a minute.
Okay. So our next category is games, hobbies, and toys. So think about, Scrabble pieces and game pieces, card games, action figures, dolls, doll clothes and accessories, dollhouse furniture, plush and stuffed animals, themed toys like Polly Pocket or My Little Pony, and cameras, film, and photography supplies, which I know, Lola, when we get to that, you can talk about.
Yeah, and just like a blanket, I think this goes through the entire episode, but potentially just a couple of these I can think of. Like, obviously, there are some very valuable action figures, very valuable Polly Pockets, even. Like, I remember looking up one I had that was going for like $80 because it was from the 80s when I was, a child. So this is the kind of thing you definitely want to like research as much as you can, figure out which ones are the valuable ones. And then when you find, more recent versions or just ones that are more common, that's the time to lot them up.
To lot up, yeah. So here's somebody that sold 460 Scrabble tiles for $17.99. Now, that's not, a huge amount, but if you do happen to find them at the thrift store or somewhere, that's a great profit,
These are definitely also used by crafters. Yes. That's probably a lot of these,
And here's an example. Now, I have an autistic son, so I understand the sensory bin thing. That's something that, he loves things with textures, different, shapes and textures and whatnot. So this is a great idea for a sensory bin, I Spy bottle. So again, crafters use these. So if you have a bunch of random game pieces or maybe, from games that you're getting rid of because,
they're incomplete or.
Yeah, there you go. That's an idea for a lot. So, and then, geez. All right, I'll just go on to the next one. Come on, Mercari. Mercari doesn't load.
There says Legos. Great example of like a super collectible toy.
I'll just move on to this. So this is my listing. So do you want to talk about cameras a little bit, Lola? So this is my listing. I had these, I think I got these in a Goodwill lot for like $10 or something. And I'm trying to sell them on Depop as well, but I have them on eBay for, just for $34.99, but I put them both together because it's kind of common sense. And alone, they really only sell for like, between like 12 and maybe 15 at the most. So.
Yeah, the fact that they're two different colors, like these would make a really nice pair to put on a bookshelf or something. In general, for vintage cameras, some of them can be quite valuable, and especially recently, they've gone up in value because people are getting back into photography with the pandemic. It's something you can do alone outside. If you have film, definitely check your film and make sure that you're pricing it accordingly. There's some rare films that I have like a watch on eBay just because I've been watching it go up in price, and it's gone up to like $100 a roll of film. So definitely, make sure that's not what you have. But if you are selling expired film, there are photographers who intentionally look for that. It doesn't go for a ton, but 35 millimeter rolls that you have the expiration date, expired Polaroid film also. Sometimes it is no longer good. If you shake it, you can hear it's like disintegrated, and then you have to, you could actually sell it, but like be very, very explicit. It's probably not going to work. But there are people who look for the expired Polaroid film. So all of those things, basically, there's still value. If you have vintage cameras that the film is no longer made, usually more for display now than for actual use, but there are some people who will modify them and reuse them. But you're looking at two different audiences. They're the people who want to use the cameras and people who just want them for cool decor. So you have people who will buy them even if they're totally useless for anything but the visual display.
Yeah, and these are cool, some cool decor. Now, I think these work as far as I know they do, but they were untested. And so, I'm selling them as is. However, they would look awesome on somebody's shelf or something. They're pretty cool. So yeah. So
yeah. Brian says expired disc film. Yeah, that's a great example of another film people do look for. I actually sold, I think I sold like a couple boxes of it. I found in the bins for, not a ton, but it was from the bins. Yeah, a lot of these items, like even though we're kind of going through different categories, the lots often appeal to
They
crafters.
listed this
So I
under.
would probably put this under craft.
They listed it under crafts, multi-purpose craft
Mhm.
supplies, crafting pieces, wooden pieces. So they did put it under crafts for the Scrabble pieces.
Yeah, and then another good example is for movie, TV show props. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. That's a
All of
good
these things.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Sesame Street plush, these individually might have not sold as well, but they put them all together. They lotted them by the Sesame Street. So, although I don't think it was Kermit. Kermit wasn't Sesame Street. He was Muppets. Well, at any rate,
There were the it's the same.
It's Jim Henson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Build-A-Bear clothes, American Girl clothes, lot those together. They can do well, but make sure that it's not something that's individually going to be sought out. And so do your research. So here's a Polly Pocket lot that sold for $215, and you can find these at garage sales and whatnot. So our next category is ephemera. So stickers, postcards. Go refer to our postcard episode. Lola did really well with that because she sells a lot of. Can you pull the banner up for the?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thanks. So Lola sells a lot of postcards. That was a great episode. So definitely, look at that episode for more information on that. Matchbooks, magnets, pennants, vintage maps, old photos, magazines, catalogs. Like you had given an example of a couple of catalogs, like Delia's, or we talked about that.
We were talking about that last week. Yeah.
Yeah. Postage stamps. So I know you have a few comments on some of these. So I'll just
go through the examples, and I can just kind of comment on the ones that I wanted to.
So these are some old photos. An example of these sold for $200. There were 2,000 vintage photos. You're not always going to find a lot that big, but you might find. Now I found some, and I didn't put these on, but I found vintage nude photos that hey, they sell.
Definitely
so there were only like 20 of them, and they had sold for quite a bit. So it depends on the you might want to lot them by nature or by portraits or different categories like that. But vintage photos can sell for quite a bit. And here's an unused postage stamps, $110.
Yeah. So for postage stamps, you definitely want to separate out the unused and the used ones. They both are good items to lot up, but people do want to know whether they can still use them, because even vintage stamps, and I'm talking about US stamps, I don't know that much about international stamps, but they are still good to use for mailing. And so when I send, if I sell a postcard, I will sometimes send it in an envelope using vintage postage stamps as the postage, because it's like a nice fun detail. And generally, so I think this is an example here where it has the total the face value of the stamps is $157.66, and then it sold for $110. So it actually sold a little bit less than face value. The person who bought these stamps probably got them as a stamp collection at an estate sale, and they were even cheaper than that. So like everybody wins, because you can use these, if you're mailing something, and save money. This was also how, when I got married, we sent out our invitations using vintage stamps we found on eBay, because it saved money and it was like cool detail.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this is, one way I like to actually kind of like save money and add a little detail to my postcards. But if you're selling these, you definitely want to include the face value and expect to sell them for slightly less.
Good tip. And I didn't include any postcard lots because, again, you can refer to our postcard episode. But here's vintage matchbooks that sold for these are 20 of them. They from the 80s and 90s, just random places, and they sold for $15. So
this is an item that appeals to collectors, like they're matchbook collectors. They're also people who use them for collage art, journaling, things like that. So there's a multiple angles of appeal for these.
Yeah, so I think Etsy is a good place to sell those because of that factor. So, and then here's vintage Playboy magazines. So from 1972, there's a lot that sold for $28. So again, sometimes individual magazines can sell for more. So definitely look. And again, like Jenny said with the ads, so So make sure that you're not, putting something in a lot that you shouldn't, that you can sell for more. These were examples of greeting card lots. So vintage greeting cards, a lot of crafters use these. You can put scrapbooking in your keywords too, but there's some examples of those. So, and then sewing items and notions. So spools, buttons, thread and floss, mixed like sewing notions, especially the vintage ones, sewing patterns. We go back to our sewing pattern episode for that. And, we talk a lot about lotting them together and what to do with that. Zippers, lace trim and ribbons, and sewing machine parts. So, and I know you have some commentary on some of these. So this I just listed yesterday. I've had these laying around forever, and I finally just listed them yesterday. So this is just a lot of vintage spools, thread spools. And I've had these laying around again forever. And I said, oh, I should lot those together I should list this lot before episode. Of course, I just listed them yesterday. I did send out an offer today though. And I listed them based on what I saw with others, comparable. So I listed the lot for $34.99 plus shipping, and hopefully I'm hoping to get, at least $25 plus shipping. So
I have some that I found in the bins a while back, and I realized probably not enough for a lot, but I probably will just set these aside, and then when I find more.
Are they empty?
A couple have thread, but not enough that I can do a separate.
Yeah, so most of these are pretty much bare, but I did see that some of them that have thread, some of the vintage ones that are full, sell for more, like smaller lots.
They do, yeah, especially if they're like natural fibers. If you find like silk or cotton,
mercerized cotton, I saw that on a lot of them. Yeah. So, and here's an example of buttons. These are some fancy buttons. These are flower themed. You can see there's some really nice fancy buttons, but vintage buttons or buttons in general, even like the plastic ones, will sell to crafters. If you have enough of them, even the cheaper ones will.
And I do know some buttons are super collectible and valuable. I don't know which ones.
Yeah, I wouldn't know a lot about that either, but this looks like a really nice lot, and it was a winning. No, they auctioned this. It had 8 bids, and the auction ended at $150. So, which is interesting. And then here's an example of mixed sewing notions. So you can see what's in there. We're talking about fasteners and zippers and thread and, different types of snaps and, so that's an example of some, and I've sold notion lots for decent money. So, and those are something that is plentiful, like in the bags in the thrift store. Look on the walls with, the bag, the wall of bags, So there's an example of a sewing pattern lot. I lotted up a bunch of my duds or cut ones or uncut ones. We talk about that in our sewing pattern episode. Zippers. So about vintage zippers. So here's a lot that sold for $30.
Yeah, so these are a great thing to sell for crafters because it's one of those things that they just don't make them like they used to. The vintage zippers will have, metal findings. They're usually just a little bit more sturdy. And some people are, specifically looking for that. And it's also a nice thing that people who sew just want to have a big collection of at their fingertips, so they're not having to run to the store to get the specific zipper they need for a project. And I've found these pretty frequently at the bins. So, it's, a lightweight item. Easy to lot up. This is definitely like a good way to sell vintage zippers.
And then
and Jenny says metal goes for the highest. Yeah,
definitely the vintage. Yeah, so you'll see the modern ones. We talk about that in one of our episodes. YKK, the Talon ones are the older ones. So some of the brands can be a tip off too. And then this is an example of sewing machine parts. So if you have you might find a lot but you also might find some old sewing machines, at the curb that someone's throwing out. You can, and if they don't work, you can, part them out for a part slot like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is one item where I think it depends on like how much effort you want to put into it, because if you do want to research what model you have, what parts you have, especially for something like this, for sewing machine feet, some of them can be quite expensive if they're for a specific brand and it's the original brand, it's not an off brand, especially right now because there's still a bit of a backup in sewing machine like servicing companies. Were super backed up during the pandemic because everyone was getting their machine service. They could make masks, and it's still sort of like a bottleneck. So people may be trying to make their own repairs at home, or pulling out their old machine for the first time in ages and realizing it needs a part. So this is definitely something that like a specific item will go for, a fair amount because someone needs that specific item. But if you don't want to put the time into figuring out all of those details, if you're not a sewer, you could just put this up, maybe auction it on eBay, and just in case you have something you don't realize, and people will find it because people are looking all the time for these parts.
Yes, definitely. I have some examples here of some sewing notions that these are my mom's, but these are just some examples of sewing notions that you could lot together. They're not going to sell for a whole lot on their own, but together in a lot they would sell. So I know you had some lace to show too.
Yeah. Oh, and Anne had great points. Often cheap at estate sales. Yeah. If you're going through the item or going through the photos, you can always tell when the person who lived there was a crafter, because we hoard stuff. So it is pretty easy to find lots of these because if someone was a sewer, they will have accumulated lots over their lifetime. Speaking of which, this is a bunch of lace that I got in a lot of sewing patterns. So there are a few other things that had gotten thrown into that lot that I didn't expect. And this is all pretty much from the 80s. Some of it was still in like the packaging from the store. It's not a huge amount, but it's enough for a lot. Looking at comps, a lot of people who were posting lots of vintage lace were using keywords like for scrapbooking, altered art, things like that. So it didn't even occur to me until I started looking at comps that it might not be sewers who are looking for lace, but other crafters and artists. So you don't even need to have a lot of yardage for the lace to be of interest to somebody. It could be small amounts, like small lengths of more different types and textures and styles, make a good lot too, based on what I was looking at.
And our next one is crafting and hobbies. So
it's always kind of overlapping in different places.
Yeah. So you're thinking about knitting supplies, yarn, knitting needles and crochet hooks, knitting patterns and books, cross stitch and embroidery kits, beads, jewelry parts, broken jewelry, fabric remnants, rubber stamps, and hole punches. So yeah, kind of like sewing, but it's a little more broad. So here's some and go back to our yarn episode. So so yarn, you want to take like the acrylic and the more low end, or the ones that don't have the wrappers or the bands to and kind of lot those together.
Yeah, this is not my listing, but I thought it was a good example. So this is one of that was done sort of by color, which is one way that you can lot yarn together. This one more multicolor, but even small amounts can be of interest to crafters because you either want a lot of different colors and you're doing a project where there's lots of different like if you browse Pinterest, you can kind of get an idea of what people would buy this for. Either like a pom-pom garland, you wanted a lot of different colors. It's cheaper to buy it this way than to go to the store and buy a skein of yarn in every single color. So there's definitely people that this will appeal to, but you can also find yarn like this for nothing at the bins or maybe in a bag at the thrift store.
Yeah. And if you do buy lots of good stuff, you can put the bad, the stuff that's not going to, and just lot it. I've done tons of odds in it.
Yeah.
For people like me that are learning to knit.
I've bought bags of yarn off of Shop Goodwill, and some of it will be really high end, and then there'll be occasional bits of, ends of different skeins of yarn that I end up just keeping for scrap yarn for myself, but if I was selling it, I would definitely list it like that listing.
So crochet and knitting pattern books, we talked about that. So yeah, you can lot those. And these are also plentiful at the bins. I found a whole mess of them one time and I sent them to you.
You sent them to me, yeah.
So, but you
and
can
if I were selling them or suggesting you sell them, definitely would probably lot them up. Same with embroidery kits. I find those at the bins all the time.
You can see this. This is a tiny one that's just not going to be worth much on its own. But if you lot it together with a bunch of other small ones or ones that aren't going to sell as much, to be profitable on their own, then you got yourself some money. So,
and that's a great example of an item where some are absolute home runs, some are not worth that much. And so, you get a lot, figure out which ones are worth listing on their own, and then lot the rest.
Yeah. So, and then here's an example of parts, jewelry that might be broken or just, beads, loose beads, and, odds and ends for crafting. So that's and also if you buy the Goodwill blue boxes, you might get some things that you can keep and sell individually and others that you can lot up. Here's an example of fabric remnants, and you can see they're all kind of florals and prints and vintage, the same fiber. So, and you can go back to, we did an episode on fabric too. So you can go back.
The older the fabric, generally the smaller amount you can have and have it be worthwhile to list. Because even if you have very small pieces, it can be of interest to quilters. It can be of interest to people who are also like scrapbooking again, and journaling, things like that.
Yep. Rubber stamps. I know Jason, I think, sold some rubber stamps. Right. Didn't you bring some? I might as well just pop you back in here. Okay. So you sold some rubber stamps, right? I know you bought a bunch of them.
Oh,
Jason.
So, was he picking his nose?
No, I was taking a nap. Yeah, but here's the problem I have with rubber stamps. I have a ton of them up in the rafters of the office because I started to separate them, and it just became so much work. And because I had the teenager sister take pictures of them, and then I'm like, oh, I can't even keep track of what pile is what. And so it became one of those, maybe I just set it to the side. It'll just disappear and go away.
Oh, okay.
So we sold some of the single ones really good in a couple lots, but I've got like 700 of them.
Oh my
800
God.
of them.
Yeah. So that'll be a thing we revisit probably this summer.
Yeah, and some of them are really duds, and some of them, it's something that maybe you can just put a bunch of them together and just get rid of them too.
Yeah, I'm thinking someone's gonna love a giant lot of them. That's my hope and dream.
Yeah,
I think so. Would you consider auctioning those, just like putting up a huge lot?
Yeah, we Zoe's working on a big lot of from the Viewmaster thing, and she's gotten to the point where I just give her some vague direction and say, have at it, and let's do it. And she put together this gigantic lot. Let me see of holy cow.
Wow.
So it's kind of like we're getting towards the end of that box. So all kinds of extra goodies in there. And I'm like, all right, I love your idea. So it's booklets and it's empty cases.
Wow.
And it's full sets and it's partial sets.
Okay.
And so we're doing $9.99 and let it fly and see what happens.
That's the kind of thing that you could end up getting like a bidding war, because you have two people who just need to know what's in it, and like the off chance of finding that really rare item that they've been looking for.
Yeah, I think I'm like 700 into profit at this point. So I'm like, all right, because you're right. People get excited and they're like, yay. Plus, think about it. Most of us have been home and bored. What's more exciting than maybe if I bid only $5 more, I'm going to win this gigantic lot of Viewmaster stuff.
Yep, people are paying attention to options more.
Yep.
So this is an example. We're almost at the tiki mug, so I'll just leave you here for a minute.
All right, I got props too.
Okay, cool. So this is I'll just blow through the clothing, and then we're at the so this is an example of by hole punches, I mean like the decorative ones like this. They can sell for in lots. I used some of these for my wedding. I made my own favors, and I used these. So so that's another thing. And then clothing and shoes and accessories. Cashmere cutter sweaters, kids clothing, duds or slow moving clothing of the same size, scarves, men's ties. Refer to our past episodes. We did scarves and ties. And we've talked about lots of different clothing items in the past. Mystery boxes. Now, these are perfectly legit on Poshmark. You cannot sell mystery lots on eBay, but you can on Poshmark. So that's a popular thing on Poshmark. Fabric remnants. I don't think that was in the right spot there, but that was supposed to be in another. Sorry about that. That's not supposed to be in clothing. Jewelry, pantyhose, watches, for both men's and women's watches, and fix-it resellers repair lots of flawed clothing. So here's just some quick examples of those. So cashmere cutter, we talked about that. These are cashmere sweaters that have holes or flaws in them. Crafters will buy them in lots, and so they will sell. So don't get rid of the cashmere sweaters with holes. Here's a scarf lot, vintage scarf lot for $40. Sometimes scarves don't sell as much on their own, but if you lot them together, they will sell for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a mystery box example. So this is a plus size mystery box for $35. You don't know what you're getting. If you are selling these, so don't just put your junk in there, because you will get an unhappy buyer. Do some decent pieces at least, but if you're interested in doing that, that is a way to get rid of some of your duds. Here's a reseller's not so mystery box that I bought. I bought it for just $12, which was really underselling it. But I got, there were 10 pieces of clothing. Some were pretty good. Some were not as great. But, for $12 plus shipping on Poshmark. And I've already sold for some of these items for over $12. So there's an example of a way to purchase some lots, for resale.
And you could do something creative like this too. Like ThredUp does something now. It's almost like Stitch Fix, where you can order a box from them that's like kind of curated. If you wanted to get really creative with some of your slower moving items, you could put together an outfit, put together a summer top and shorts and a necklace and some accessories and sell that as a lot.
I think more so on Poshmark too.
That would be a Poshmark thing.
Sure. Yeah, than on eBay. So here's a cat themed jewelry lot that sold, so you can put the jewelry in lots like that. And then here's, they did a mystery reseller jewelry box on Poshmark too. So, you can always do those mystery boxes. Again, I've heard of people complaining about them not being so great. So make sure that you do put some nice things in, but they can still be your things that wouldn't sell as well individually. This is my lot of pantyhose. My mom just cleaned out her closet and gave me a ton of vintage pantyhose to sell. So this is my lot. These are from the 80s. Individually, they don't sell for as much. They sell for, just maybe up to $5 or so a piece. But together I can easily sell this lot for like $50. So, and watches, again, you can put, even if they need repair, they're broken, definitely list that. But and then here's an example of a fix-it reseller mystery lot bundle that I found. So they might have, flawed or stains or holes, and it says these items are flawed. This bundle is meant to be purchased by someone who wants to mend them and then sell them. So if you don't have the time, you don't have the talent, you just don't want to be bothered, you can do that to get rid of to unload some of your items that need repair. And here we go to the tiki mud. So kitchen items is...
Someone was asking in the chat earlier if mugs are a good lot item. So here we go, mugs.
Yes, so we forgot to put the number 6 was clothing and accessories. Number 7 is kitchen items and barware. So so coffee mugs, tiki mugs, barware like wine accessories lot, kitchen gadgets, glassware and drinkware, empty liquor bottles, kitchen appliances, and kitchen appliance part lots. Now I know, Jason, you can also talk about empty liquor bottles and tiki mugs. So this is not your listing, but this is a listing that you found.
So this was an odd one because this is a very rare mug, and it's been made over the years in different versions and stuff. But this is one of the early vintage versions, and this mug sells for about $70 by itself. And I would never think to lot 5 of these vintage ones together, but if you do the math, they sold for $70 times 5. So, I mean, in this case, I would have never thought to do it this way if I had 5, but I'd much rather have one lot sell for the same price as one listing has 5 listings.
Mm-hmm.
So if I ever run across 5 together, I guess I could sell them as one lot. But that was crazy to me because that's not something that people usually are like, I need 5 of these, but someone did.
Crazy. Yeah, and then we have another lot that you had sent me, not your listing again, but.
So this is the most common tiki mug of all time. It's called the Leilani, and it truly isn't worth anything because it is so common. So I wasn't planning on being on, and when Nadine and Lola said, "Hey, we'll put you backstage, we'll call you up and again," and I just walked over to my cabinet of extras and see they're always all over the place. When you're a tiki mug collector, they're always all over the place. And then I think, Nay, you sent me this one, right? Was it you?
I did. That's the really crappy.
So here's the same mug that someone thought we should paint it blue.
It's the crappy
not
thing.
food safe paint.
I remember I found that for like $1 in the thrift store, and I was like, I found the ugliest tiki mug ever, and you were like, oh, I want it. So
That's too funny.
So there's no point of ever buying these, but if you're like my mom and you find them for a quarter, here's 12 that sold for $100. So if I keep holding on to these, I just get 10 more. I got $100. So this is a case of crap in quantity is worth something to somebody.
Yeah.
So this is probably someone who's actually using them, maybe wants a whole bunch for their tiki bar.
Yep. If your friends are sloppy drunks, you give them these to drink out of, not your good mugs.
Yep. Good. And I want to ask you about empty bottles in a second too. So, here's an example of a coffee. So if you have like the Keurig makers and you find, even if you have one of your old ones that goes kaput, you can part it out, and do a lot of the parts, rather than shipping a heavy coffee maker that doesn't work. So there's an example of a lot like that. And then here's a barware lot, miscellaneous, that sold for $50. Not bad. And okay, Wilton cake pans don't necessarily sell for a lot individually anymore, but if you lot them together, they can sell for a lot more. And okay, so Jason, did you want to talk about, I wanted to ask you real quick about the empty bottles, like the empty liquor bottles. You've talked about those, and I have to use the bathroom, so maybe you can just.
Jason is filling.
Yeah, so thank you.
A lot of the collectible liquor bottles typically should be sold solo. However, when it comes to the little airplane bottles, you tend to find those collections in estate sales a lot of times, and then you can lot them together in rum. So you shouldn't sell them full of contents. However, a friend who was doing house cleanouts said, hey, someone had a whole collection of minis, and they probably had 700, 800 bottles.
Wow.
And I said, if you portion out the rum, because they were still full too. I said, if you portion out the rum ones, I will buy all the rum ones. And so that definitely works because not everyone is into whiskey and vodka. I'm into rum, and I bought them because I want to drink them, because a lot of them don't exist anymore. And so to me, it's drinking history. Typically, these kind of liquors, rums and whiskeys and bourbons, really shouldn't go bad. Unless, of course, they were sat outside in Antarctica and then they were sat outside in Death Valley in the summertime. That'd be the only really extremes, but for the most part, they should still be good. So together they'd be worth a heck of a lot more than if you did one little bottle at a time.
So is there any value in the actual bottle, or is it really in the rum?
Yeah, the bottles too, because like I said, a lot of them aren't made anymore. So if you are collecting them to add the little bits to your tiki bar, to have some old vintage Jamaican rum that has been made in 40 years, even the empty bottle, absolutely. My mom found a bottle of Jamaican rum that hadn't been made in about 30 years, a full-size bottle, at a estate sale for, I think, $2. Over the course of 5 years, I drank the whole bottle with my mom and dad. Every time I came home, we'd pull it out, have a cocktail. And then when we were all done, Mom sold that empty bottle for $50.
Wow.
So we enjoyed history for 5 years, and then she turned her $2 into $50. So
nice deal.
Yeah. And I know you talk about drinking the drink and then buying the tiki mug with the drink and then selling the tiki mug for more, but you could do that in a lot of tiki mugs too. You could add that to a lot and
Yeah, and I'll answer Hazel's question real quick, and then I'll bid you all adieu.
Okay.
Legally, you can't sell liquor because you don't have a liquor license. So I would never, ever, ever recommend anyone break the law. However, it can be sold.
Disclaimer.
But, Zoe, don't answer that. Someone's ringing the doorbell at the office. No one ever comes here uninvited. So with that, this kind of thing of maybe pop it in the thrifting board and says, hey, any collector looking for this. But if you put it on a site like eBay, there was a moment in time where we could sell collectible bottles that happen to have contents. And then 2 idiot 18-year-olds did a whole party where they bought all the booze off of eBay. And then eBay put the hammer down. So if I ever catch those 2 18-year-olds,
well, they're not 18 anymore.
yeah, but a lot of us were buying and selling collectible bottles on eBay that happen to have contents. Yeah, rum doesn't really go bad. Neither does whiskey. Neither does bourbon. I don't think.
As long as the seal is good, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's been open, but I know I've seen like bourbon collectors getting disappointed when they have an old bottle and open it and like it actually wasn't stored properly. But
yeah, so unless, like I said, unless there's weather extremes, if it's just sitting in the back of your bar, the back of a closet for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it don't really matter. Now, if it was opened, oxygen will change it, but it won't be bad. It'll be taste different. But if it's still sealed, those of us who, because a lot of cocktails were made with specific liquors that don't exist anymore. So if you happen to find one, you can make a cocktail like it was supposed to taste. Us cocktail nerds would be like, yes.
Crazy, yeah.
There's a whole bar in Chicago that is only long ago not made spirits that they hunt the world for and high-end spirits. So you can drink a 1944 Mai Tai. It's going to cost you a pretty penny, but they have a team that scours the world for these spirits that people found in the back of a castle or the back of grandma's closet that never got opened. And then you can have $100 Mai Tai. Now, is it worth it? $100? No. But to a nerd, is it worth $100 to drink how Trader Vic wanted it to taste? Absolutely. And I wouldn't go to that bar.
Business, yes.
I wouldn't go to that bar once a week because I couldn't afford it. But when I'm in Chicago, I will absolutely, take my wife and we'll have some vintage cocktails and thoroughly enjoy the history.
Okay.
What's it called?
It's called the Milk Room, and it seats a whopping 8 people. It's hidden inside a bigger place, but it's a cool place.
Interesting. See, I don't know about all this. Very interesting.
And there we go. There's my nerd barware for you. So,
well, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. Good to see everybody.
Yeah, thanks. Okay.
And make sure to subscribe to this channel because it's a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason.
And Jason's channel, which is
Jason P. Smith. Easy peasy.
Yes, and Thrifty Business.
Yeah, Thrifty Business on Thursdays, and then Mom and Me was selling past their expiration date on Sunday, 7 o'clock. And we're talking Amish this Sunday. So
Amish. That's interesting.
Garage sales and Amish country. And more so, we're talking sourcing out of the way places, but Mom just killed it at an Amish garage community sale. So
very cool. I want to hear all about that.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. So I'm going to go back to this. So we just have a couple more categories.
Yeah, we should probably do the rest a little quickly because we are...
Yeah, we're going over a little bit.
Over as usual.
So for beauty items, we have Ipsy bags or other cosmetic bags, travel funds, and hotel toiletries, cosmetic and nail polish. So make sure it is new and not expired. Barware, like a wine accessories lot, hair accessories, mini perfume bottles, and other items like bath gels and fragrance spray, especially all the same brand like Bath and Body Works. So those are some of the things. So we have, this is Lola's listing. So Ipsy... Yeah, combo subscription. They are so plentiful because people have the subscriptions. You get a free bag loaded with little goodies every month. And so these are very plentiful in the thrift stores. And if you lot them together, people
lots of them in the bins. And then some of them are, a handful of them are sought after, really popular. But in general, people just use them as makeup bags or, just keep different things together in your purse. So there are definitely people who look for them and will buy them. I definitely don't think I would get the $30. That's just a higher listing price for Poshmark, so I
For
can
Poshmark,
drop it. But you know, I got these for next to nothing. So
yeah. And then here's an example of a Clinique. So you get these are also a lot of these times these are gift with purchase kind of things. And so you can find these a lot at the thrift store too. And there's an example of those hotel toiletries, which I have heard that these are going to become a thing of the past because hotels are being more eco-friendly and they're putting dispensers in now instead of giving you the little bottles. So, you know, there may come a time when these are even more sought after, but if you have a bunch of them, and these are also plentiful in the thrift stores, you can find them in bags. You can find them even at the bins. I have found them. So they sold that lot for $52. We talked last week about hair accessories, about Y2K hair accessories on our Y2K show. Here is an example of a hair accessories lot that's not, there you go. So yeah, so you can lot together hair accessories. They don't have to be anything expensive, but together they might sell for a lot more. And then our last, next to last one is wedding decor. So
this has already come up a couple of times. And one time when people are looking for a large number of the same thing is when they're planning a wedding, and DIY wedding decor is always really popular. Might be a little bit slow right now because people are having smaller weddings, but you know, it'll pick up again. So like milk glass people use as centerpieces. Flower frogs is another one similar to that, where people will be looking for those to use for different centerpiece kind of pieces of centerpiece or floral arrangements. Brooch bouquets are really popular. I have, this is my collection of different like vintage pieces that have come in different glue boxes. Some of them I think I actually ended up buying while I was planning my wedding and didn't use for different reasons. So I've been sort of putting them together as a lot. And I do need to double check, like with everything else, that none of these are valuable on their own, but I think they will probably be easier to sell as a lot together. Vintage china, people will buy vintage china to use for their tables, like to serve their dinner, and then either resell it when they're done or donate it. I've actually found like the best china I found in thrift stores has been definitely someone who had a wedding and then donated all their china. And you know, a couple other things that come up, like Nay mentioned, the punches you use. So, you know, craft supplies.
yeah, that kind of overlaps there. Yeah. And then place card, tiny photo frames. People use those for, you know, mishmash of tiny photo frames for place card holders, and basically anything that can be used for wedding decor. So here's some examples. So here's some a lot of milk glass vases. So these sold for $60. Here's brooches. So now they had put wedding bouquet DIY in the keywords, which if you're thinking about, you know, if you have brooches that you think could be used for them, that's definitely good keywords to use because people will buy that. And then here's an example of mismatched teacups and saucers. Wedding, they put in the keywords, $89 that sold for.
Yeah, that was our bridal shower also was like a tea party, and my mom found someone in our area who basically that's what her business is. Like she caters the tea parties and she brings a mismatched selection of teacups and teapots. And so there are probably people also who are doing that, you know, and are collecting these so that they can do vintage rentals, are done for weddings, things like that.
And vases in general, like different size. I was in behind the line one time at Goodwill, and there was a woman in front of me that was just buying she was having them put them in boxes. She bought out the entire vase aisle of Goodwill, and she said, "These are my wedding centerpieces." I heard her talk, you know, and it was just like mismatched vases. So yeah, and there's an example of frames that they might use for place card holders, and you can sometimes find these frames in bags at the thrift store too. So you might be able to find a lot of them and flip them for some decent money. So, and then here's an example of things that could be used as wedding decor, you know, just crystals and things like that. So And then our last category is home decor. So brass candlesticks, vintage books, and books in general by series, author, or theme, genre, tchotchkes, anything people collect like bells, horse figurines, whatever, you know, any collectible, even like the Star Wars plates, for example, art. So think about similar themed paintings or prints or like a series of them, or, you know, smaller pieces of art that can be, you know,
People want to hang as like a gallery wall.
Exactly. And then linens like tea towels, doilies, towels, bedding, throw pillows. And then one other thing that I forgot to put in here was holiday decorations, you know, like Christmas ornaments.
Jenny was talking about that in the chat, that like the ones that are less expensive, or less valuable, she's planning to lot up by theme. Seems like a great idea.
So here's an example of some brass candlestick holders. $18.50 for all these. And these I find a lot in the thrift store. I never have thought about, because if you just put them two together, or, you know, matching ones or just one, it's not going to sell for a lot. But I never thought about lotting these together. So that was.
So there's another example of something people would use for weddings, but I also see them a lot in collections, like mismatched collections on like mantelpieces, things like that, or as a tablescape for like Thanksgiving or Christmas, or just every day. So yeah, definitely brass in general, I think is quite in demand. But
this is my, definitely. Sorry, this is my lot. I just listed these yesterday, finally. So I found these at the bins. I already sold one lot, but I sold it so long ago that it's not in my eBay sold anymore. So I found a bunch of these books at the bins, and at the bins, the books are only 25 cents. So I lotted them in, I think I did a lot of 2 lots of 5 or something. Sold the other lot for around the same price, and I shipped the media mail, and then this is the remainder of them. And these are 1968 books, so they can be used for home decor too. But any books, you know, you can lot them by young adult, by author, by subject, you know. So this is an example of a book lot, and that I've listed. And again, these are from the bin, so, you know.
I know Nancy Drew is another example where you can actually sell like the full collection for quite a bit more than the individual books.
And here's an example of the Swarovski crystal figurines, you know, any figurines. Like I have a Precious Moments collection from when I was, and alone, they do not sell for much anymore. They sell for nothing. But together, if you want to, you know, maybe I'll just sell my whole collection in a lot someday, you know. So they're not really my thing anymore, but it's something that I, you know, that I've collected, you know, like when I was a little girl and all over the years. So. Okay, so that wraps it up, and I will go to, let me just go to my other screen.
I think we might have missed a couple of comments.
Oh, you can pull them up, sure.
Pull up the next one, and someone mentioned like regional grocery store. Oh, Hazel, regional grocery store bags. I definitely know that there's some like HEB has had some that are like themed and were super in demand. And I can see, especially because people have like allegiances to their regional stores and then they move out of the area, would look for those.
Yep.
If you're selling video games, make a lot of video game promos, demo discs, etc. That is something that's totally out of my depth. So,
but that's totally in Brian's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So
that is a great piece of advice. Dead salt and pepper shaker lots. Yeah, that's another great idea.
Oh, I guess I should pull up. Brian mentioned that. Yeah, salt and pepper shakers are. So let me do my thing here, my home decor item. So this is, I don't know how to get back on the.
Oh, I'll do it.
Thank you. Okay. So this is actually, I just pulled this I'm at my parents' house. So this is something that was my dad's, but it is something that he got at a flea market a while back. My dad has a train collection. Of course, my dad passed away. I think the train collection is going to go to my boys. So I think we're going to pack them up and you know, save them for my boys someday. So he's got a huge train table all set up. We're probably going to leave it for a while, but I know my mom wants to do other things with the room. So, but here, this is something that I'll put with the collection. And it's something that my dad bought from a flea market. It's a Lionel clock. It doesn't have batteries in it, but that's something that And it's something that would go also in a lot. Like if you're selling some Lionel stuff, you know, this would be a good item to add. So not sure how much this would go for individually. I didn't look it up, but kind of a cool, you know, a cool thing that's kind of specialized again to a certain thing, you know, like trains, Lionel trains. And you could put this and add this to a lot easily. So
Jenny says that Lionel people would flip over backwards for that clock.
Yeah, I have to look it up. I didn't have time to look it up because I just grabbed it for the show because I've got my item. But
and of course that's very special. You're not going to be selling that.
I won't be selling it because it was my dad's, and you know, my dad passed away. His train collection will not just be donated; it will go to my kids. So, and
ready to do.
Yeah. So our thrifting breaking news is. So there's a couple things here, nothing really big, but so if it loads ever. So eBay is increasing the character limit for feedback. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It depends on which way you're looking at it. You could have more room for raving, glowing comments, or, you know, a buyer could have more room for not so glowing comments. But if you're a good seller, hopefully the good comments will outweigh and there'll be more room for positive comments. They are increasing it to, you could only, so previously it was 80 characters, and now they're increasing the feedback fields to allow a maximum of 500 categories.
Wow, so that is a big change.
It's a huge change. So the good thing about it, though, for sellers is that if you're leaving feedback, you can leave, you know, nicer feedback for your buyers, obviously, or for people that you buy from. But if you're, as a seller, if you need to reply to buyer feedback, sometimes it's harder to explain yourself because you want to be professional without emotion. If you get a negative, that can't be removed, or a neutral. And sometimes it's harder to explain in 80 characters. So now you have a little more room, you know, USPS lost the package, I refund it, you know, whatever happened, you can just state the facts and you have more room to do it now. So that's a good thing.
It's a little bit of an end of an era, though, because I feel like the really, the cheesy, like, A plus, like, it's just part of eBay culture, right? It has been since, like, the 90s. But overall, it seems like a good change.
Yeah, so yeah, Brian likes the change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's good to have more room to reply, because I have had that, you know, on the very, very few, and I don't want to jinx myself, but on the very few negatives or neutral that I've gotten over the years, I have needed that. I've always found that I felt like I needed more room to explain what happened, and there just wasn't enough room. So, okay, so our other thing is that Poshmark has drops from celebrities. And DJ Khaled just dropped his collection. Him and his wife, actually. There's some of his wife's clothes too. But you can see not everything. I'm surprised that there's, I don't know if I have to refresh on this, but here, let's look at the solds. Okay. So yeah, so there you can see some of his wife's clothing is there too. So, but I'm surprised that some of it didn't actually go for more. It's actually kind of reasonably priced if you're considering that it's from a celebrity's wardrobe. Custom shirt, $150. Suede jacket, $350. There's his wife's Louis Vuitton bag that went for $560. So really, you know, not bad. Moschino, you can see the brands that are there, Young, Fabulous, and Broke. But there's some, you know, you can get if you want to, you can get a DJ Khaled item of clothing for, you know, a decent amount. There's a Dickies utility shirt that went for just $63. So I'm surprised that, you know, usually when these celeb closets drop, they go for a lot more, but this is a surprisingly affordable one. So
it's also a good way to get some new followers if you're trying to establish your followers. If you follow the celebrity accounts when they're doing the like Poshmark drops, it's a way that then you'll suddenly get an influx of new followers. Whether or not they're good followers, probably not. But you know, if you're new and you're trying to make sure that you look like an established account, that's one way to do it.
So there he is. That custom suit in yellow is selling for $5,000. So that's a more higher end one. And if you want to look like a big banana, then go for it. But sorry to DJ Khaled, but it is, you know, there's Gucci, you know, so there are some more expensive price, but some of it is kind of affordable. So that's pretty cool. And market report. I just sold. Did you have anything to share this week?
Not this week. No, I'm slowly getting back into the swing of my
there.
so I don't have a ton.
So this Prada sweater, actually, I got it. Gosh, I don't remember. I've had it for so long that I don't even remember where I sourced it from. But I knew it was Prada. It was definitely heavy wool knit. I knew from the zipper that it was authentic. However, thing with it was that it had, and I could tell by the tag too, that was definitely authentic Prada. The neck tag, though, the tag that said Prada in the neck had been removed. So I disclosed that in the listing. And I also disclosed that it had some pulls in it. And I took a picture of them and I sold it for $55, which wasn't a whole lot, but considering, you know, that it had some condition issues, not bad. And I got glowing feedback from that. And then I sold this one. This was something that I also had forever. And it was like that. It was kind of, you know, it was like a tapestry floral. And I probably could have added like grandma core or something to this. And I didn't, but I sold that for $34.99. And then,
yeah, I'm surprised that took a while to sell because that seems very on trend right now.
Yeah, it did. It took a while. So, and then I just sold this Tommy Hilfiger New Tags top for $30. And I think I paid, you know, just like $3.99. I don't remember what I paid for the Prada and the Grace Elements blazer, probably like $4.99. So not bad. And then we have a question for you. What lotted items have you had success with? We had some great comments in the chat, but if you want to, if you're
watching this later, you have an example you want to share, please leave a comment. We want to hear all your stories.
Yeah.
And do you have our contact?
Yep.
Oh, thank you, Sabrina. She says, give us a big thumbs up. This is a great show. I'm so glad.
Thank you. Yeah, we went a little over, but we hope that you got some really good information today. And you can find us everywhere. So drop us an email. If you want to be a future guest or if you have any ideas for an upcoming video, let us know by all means.
Yeah, going back to a comment I left in the chat earlier, a couple of you mentioned that you sell ads when I was talking about my vintage magazines. If someone wants to come on and talk about selling ads like that, that would be a really great show. I'd love to learn about it myself. So, you know, email us if you're interested because that would be awesome to have.
That would be great. That would be a great topic for a show. So here is so next Friday, the 16th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, we'll be talking all about Jessica McClintock. So, and thanks everybody for watching and have a great week.
See you next week. Bye.